Is Turki Al-Sheikh good for boxing? In short, yes. Let's get into today's video. Welcome back again. Like, share, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Today we're talking His Excellency HE Turki Al-Sheikh, and a question that I think a lot of people had when he first came in, and those questions are very quickly answered. Is he good for boxing? Now, in the recent weeks, we've had a couple of instances which may kind of raises a few questions. So Turki Al-Sheikh has been an amazing presence in boxing for the past, year? Obviously starting off with the first Riyadh season event with Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. And since then, he's really made a splash and making sure that he can make the big fights in boxing without having to worry about the usual politics that gets in the way. So, you know, on the service level, he's been amazing for boxing. And I think he's a true boxing fan, and that's why these big fights are getting made. Now, there was a little bit of concern that I did start to have, and I know some people will be like, why do you have any concerns? And it's not like a complaint, just a slight concerns. When there was talks of everything coming under the same banner and trying to make the zone the home of boxing, and there was talks of maybe Saudi buying out some of the other companies and buying out Matchroom and Queensbury and Golden Boy and so on and so forth, and kind of trying to have a UFC type structure. That's where I started to get a little bit concerned. You know, obviously it's great if that happens in one sense, because fights will get made and yeah, amazing. But if anyone here, I know it's not everyone, but if anyone is a fan of UFC and actually watches UFC, you'll see the way that the UFC has changed over the years and what it's become now. It's definitely gone downhill in favor of, or for the favor of the fighters. Now, Dana White, he runs the UFC, he kind of has a monopoly over the MMA world by running the UFC in the way he does. In the recent years, we've seen a decline of UFC stars. We've seen a decline of standout stars. If anyone's a boxing fan, you know, people may know the bigger stars like Conor McGregor, maybe Israel Adesanya, maybe John Jones. Their star is nowhere near as big anymore because of the hold that Dana White has on the MMA world. It becomes a bit dangerous now with Dana. I'm not a fan of Dana. I'm not a fan of the way he does his stuff. And lately, especially how he talks about his fighters, the disrespect he shows towards the fighters under his roster has been a little bit reprehensible. And because he has absolute power and control over the biggest organization, there's not much anyone can do about it. So that's the worry. That was a little worry that kicked in when I started to see that people were trying to make that type of model in the boxing world. Myself, I'm friends with a few professional fighters, and I know that the boxing world is corrupt as it is. But if you give someone absolute power, I believe the saying is absolute power corrupts absolutely. I might have made that up, who knows. But that was the first worry. Now, in the more recent weeks, we started to have some issues between Turki and Canelo. And now I'm even seeing issues between possibly Turki and Tim Tszyu. Obviously, Turki wants to make the big fights, and Canelo, for whatever reason, seems to be in his kind of cherry-picking phase of his career. And Turki wanted to make the Crawford fight, spoke to Canelo in a way he didn't really like. And to be fair to Canelo, watching his interview and his response to Turki, all he said was, I respect him, I respect what he's doing, but I just don't like doing business that way. And Turki really and truly threw his toys at the pram. Now, I know a lot of people are fans of Turki, and I am as well, but we have to admit when it's like you go on a Twitter rant for something kind of as innocuous as that, kind of seems like you didn't get your way and you're having a little bit of a tantrum. The tweets that he wrote back to Canelo, some of it was a little immature, and I know there's a lot of immaturity in boxing, but it was a little bit disappointing to see. You know, some of the things he said, like we're no longer interested in the Crawford and Canelo fight, and just some of the ways he said this stuff. It's something to think about, I think, for us as boxing fans, that if Turki does get bored with a boxer or has a falling out with a boxer or whatever, then that's it, you're off and I'm done with you. And yes, that can happen with the other promoters, but if everything is heading under the way of this is going to be that type of UFC umbrella, this is where the issues come in. Because if the person, the figurehead and the person with the money has an issue with any fighter, any manager, any organization, then that person gets wiped from boxing existence. We see it happen in the UFC with Francis Ngannou, which is the reason he came to boxing. The UFC has literally wiped any record, or tried to wipe any record of him being in the UFC. It's actually pretty disgusting. So Canelo and Turki's little beef, it's a bit of an eye-opener and a little bit of a worrying sign if this is the way things go. Recently, Turki also wrote a tweet saying that he's not sure what's happening with Tim Tszyu, and he's not sure if he's going to be working with Tim Tszyu future. And it just sounded not like a threat, but it sounded a little bit like kind of a threat, like not a threat, but how can we say it? Like a bit of an ultimatum publicly, which I didn't like. So again, it's just little things like that. They're causes for concern. You know, I wouldn't say he's bad for boxing at all. I still think Turki is great for boxing, but it's something to keep an eye on. I wanted to get this out there because I'm not seeing many channels talking about it from this this perspective, that, you know, he's a great person for boxing, but, you know, all that glitters isn't gold. So we need to, I feel like there may be a few situations coming up in the next few months and possibly years where we may see a different side to Saudi boxing. But in short, the question was, is Turki good for boxing? And the answer is yes. But we should be cautious. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, comment below. Peace.